guys, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Barriers, the mental health podcast. I'm Lizzie.
And I'm Camila. And today with us we have Daniel Martinez. He's a certified integrated health and nutrition coach, which is very passionate about biohacking and mental well-being.
He also happens to be my brother-in-law, and I'm very proud of him because for as long as I can remember, he has been passionate about mental health, well-being, all things wellness. So I'm so happy he's here. Yay!
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
We have lots of questions for you, Danny.
All right.
Let's start with, first of all, I know that for as long as I can remember, you have personally been dealing with your share of anxiety, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So for quite a number of years, ever since I left college, I kind of been dealing with some anxiety. Also, like some sleep issues, whether it's not getting enough sleep or not getting proper sleep. That's always been something that I dealt with. So that kind of helped me get my journey started in well-being and wellness. And that's kind of where I set it off. A lot of it had to do with, some things from school while I was in college.
Because you studied medicine.
Yes. So I went to medical school. I didn't finish medical school because I didn't love medicine. I think it was very pharmaceutical driven, and that's not my interest. My interest, I understood, and I found out about myself that it was more into nutraceuticals and things that more on the natural side, and things that we can do to change our lifestyle that can actually help change our overall health.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you explain the audience what is biohacking?
Okay, so biohacking it's a newer term used for basically finding alternatives to medicine or getting closer to nature and getting closer to certain practices that help you perform better, live better, things that are going to help you do better in life, whether it's sleep better, whether it's athletically perform better. And it can be anything from supplements to lifestyle changes to certain modalities or certain practices, whether it's yoga, meditation, cold plunging, sauna, those type of things. All that falls under biohacking. Okay. So it's kind of like a way of you're hacking your lifestyle so that you get the most out of you and most out of your life in general.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that's so interesting. Coincidentally, I just saw a Netflix documentary on Hack Your Health.
Yes.
The secrets to your gut. I actually just saw it, and I thought a lot about you because you have often, talked to your brother, my husband, and me about health and well-being. And one of the things that it really talks about, which if you haven't seen it, I do recommend that you see it. Again, it's a Netflix documentary, Hack Your Health, The Secrets to Your Gut. And it does talk about gut health and the gut-brain connection. Can you kind of talk to us about that? Yeah.
So lately, we've been finding out, and we've been seeing more and more studies regarding the overall health of our gut and how that's connected to our brain. There's a direct connection between those. There's more and more studies coming out about the importance of maintaining a healthy gut microbiome. So the microbiome in your gut is basically all the living organisms, the bacteria, the things that help your gut flourish, because we have our own little world, if you will, in our gut that helps us digest food, break down food, absorb nutrients. And when that's kind of there's no balance in that, then our brain gets affected. Also, our immune system is highly connected with our gut. So we want to make sure that we're getting and we're feeding our gut the proper things, the proper nutrients. Exactly. And unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of our food is nutrient deficient and is probiotic deficient. So we need to supplement. We have to find alternatives, or we have to intake certain meals or certain types of food to let that gut microbiome flourish.
For all of the new listeners, it's good to know because we did touch a little bit about this on episode 3 with Dr. Abby. She's also a holistic chiropractor. And part of what we mentioned about the gut-brain connection is that in the gut, we have the majority of receptors for serotonin. And as we know, serotonin has an impact in anxiety and depression. So the fact that when we tackle this through nutrition, we can also impact in the depression and the anxiety.
Right. There's a lot of what we call the modern mental health issues. They can be corrected, and a lot of them can be helped just with better nutrition. With intaking better food, or changing the foods that you're eating. It's as simple as that. It doesn't get that much complicated. It's as simple as changing your diet or intaking the proper foods, the food that your brain agrees with, the food that your gut agrees with. A lot of us are not connected anymore with how we're feeling or with how our gut feels. And when we're young, we're fed all kinds of different foods, and we can't really. It's not like we can really tell our parents all the time, or we might not even be conscious of certain foods not agreeing with us. That's something that with maturity and with age, we start finding out. Yeah.
That's right.
That's so interesting because the gut-brain connection, right? It's often been referred to as your stomach is like your second brain.
Yes.
Right? And they're pictured almost as if they're best friends, the brain and the stomach, right? And they're sending signals to each other all the time. Yeah. And I was recently reading, and you can shed light on this, how a diet that is high in sugars and things like that is certainly going to make you feel, first of all, it's so hard to digest those sugars, and you become very lethargic and fatigued and mental cloudy fogginess. Yeah. And what do you think about that?
So refined sugar is our biggest enemy right now. We can agree on that. Cane sugar and refined sugars are our worst enemies. What they do is that they cause inflammation in our intestinal lining. They depress our immune system. They don't allow for our foods to be digested and absorbed, and the nutrients to be absorbed correctly. And it's hidden in everything. Most packaged foods and most packaged drinks, they have added sugar in it. So what happens is that we are getting an overload of sugar, whether it's in our breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, we're getting an overload of sugar, and our bodies don't know how to digest all that sugar. So what happens is that our bodies react to all that. So that's something that we definitely want to keep in mind. That's should be number one on our list, is watching our sugars and our sugar intake.
So Danny, you were telling us about foods that are high in sugars and processed foods, obviously we know are not good for us, but now tell us what we should be eating to help our moods, for us to help us feel better.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. We want to start off with our fiber. So our fiber is food, everything that's high in fiber. Why? Because fiber is going to help, again, our gut health. It's going to help break down cholesterol. It's going to help break down any sugar that we're intaking. That kind of helps it eliminate it, kind of get it out of the way.
Like a broom.
Like a broom, exactly. So that's our fibrous food. And our fibrous food is found mainly in plants, green, leafy greens, all your vegetables that are green, and even your non-green vegetables as well. Those are high in fiber. We also have like other things that are high in fiber that maybe we don't know about, like chia seeds, very high in fiber. Flax seeds, also high in fiber.
And I think Costco also has like a fiber supplement that you can add to your tea or your coffee. And
I mean, there's a lot of pulverized or grained out powders that have a lot of fiber in it that you can add to your smoothies or add to your yogurt, stuff like that. Speaking of yogurt, also our probiotics, our probiotic food. So that's another newer thing that society is getting into, and like the nutrition world is getting into, is our probiotic rich foods. Why? Because we are deprived in probiotics, and a lot of people don't even take a probiotic supplement.
I don't. Guilty.
And most people don't. But that's kind of like a boost to our digestive system. Kind of like vitamin C is a boost to our immune system. Probiotics are a boost to our digestive system.
Like the kombucha and fermented.
Right. Yeah. So there's really like 5 or 6 main ones that you want to make sure that you're consuming. Number one is yogurt. You know, a good yogurt, preferably. Yeah. So a yogurt, no sugar, unsweetened yogurt, plain unsweetened. Another one is kefir. So kefir is very similar to yogurt. However, there's not as much lactose concentration as regular yogurt.
I'm sorry, what is that again?
It's kefir.
Kefir.
So Kefir. and it's found right next to the yogurts at the grocery store. It's also a lot smoother than yogurt. You can drink it easily. And super rich in probiotics. It's very similar to yogurt. They're just not as much lactose. So what yogurt and what kefir are doing is that they're breaking down lactic acid in your digestive system and in your body. And you want that. You don't want to accumulate lactic acid. Additionally, to the kefir and the yogurt, we have sauerkraut. So sauerkraut is basically fermented cabbage. Cabbage that has been fermented and is rich in probiotics. Also sold at the grocery store. You can even make it at home.
The Korean kimchi.
And then the kimchi as well. Korean kimchi or kimchi. Also it's similar to sauerkraut. Also rich in probiotics. You can make it at home. A lot of the friends that I have who are Korean, their parents make it for them at home and they just take it home. That's something, it's a staple for them. It's something that they have in their kitchen all the time. And then we have our kombucha, like you said. Kombucha is super popular now in grocery stores. Everywhere you go, it's like a kombucha.
Yes.
So kombucha is basically black tea or green tea or both that have been fermented, and they create a drink that's high in probiotics. And it's tasty. They add some flavors to it. You just want to keep in mind that you want to have very low sugar in those kombuchas because a lot of them are high in sugar, or they add a lot of flavor to them. And then it kind of defeats
the purpose, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then it's like you're working against it. So you want to make sure that it's something that it's a kombucha low in sugar. So always keep your mind on that. So those are really good probiotic sources. Things that we should be having constantly. Things that we should be eating pretty much daily.
So daily.
Daily.
Okay.
Yeah, daily. So we have our fiber. We have our probiotics. And now we want to have good sources of protein. So things that good sources of protein. And a lot of people think protein, red meat. Not necessarily. Eggs is a very nutritious food, especially for everyone that can get them. The pasture raised eggs. That you want to make sure that you're intaking at least 1 to 2 eggs a day with the yolk. Because that's where a lot of the nutritional value is in the yolk.
And that yolk of the pasture-raised eggs it's like that bright orange.
Yes.
And that's how you know that
it's
there's a difference
good stuff in there.
There's a difference there, yeah. So the eggs, our legumes, our lentils, our beans, very high in protein as well. And we want to make sure we're consuming fatty fish. So our salmon.
Omega-3.
Right. So that's where we find high sources of omegas. That's kind of like what feeds our brain. That's what keeps us sharp is those omegas. And we want to make sure that we're consuming quite a bit of good salmon and all those fatty fishes, sardines even. Sardines are super high in omegas. They might not be the most tasteful, but they're very, very good for you. Try to always go for wild caught fish. Try to avoid, by all means, farm-raised fish. There's a big difference in the quality there and what you're getting for your money.
Even the color of the salmon is different.
Yeah. It is quite different. And the nutritional value, it's different. You may be paying a little less for farm-raised, but you're not getting the same nutrients as a wild-caught fish. So we have that. And then there's also our superfoods, like things that provide like a high amount of not protein, but nutrients for a little amount. So basically, things like avocados, things like blueberries. Like I said, the chia seeds.
I don't eat any of those. Damn it.
But, these are things that we can start mixing them up, whether it's like in a salad or like a bowl and dress them up. You got to have some olive oil, you got a little bit of salt, some lemon, just to change the flavor up a little bit, because sometimes we don't agree with the flavor as much. And it's all about practice. It's all about getting your body used to it, getting your taste buds used to it, changing up your taste buds a little bit. So with the superfoods, like I said, blueberries, avocados, chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, very good for the brain, very good for overall health. Nuts in general, pumpkin seeds, super high in magnesium, higher in iron. Those are things that you wanna be consuming. I like to break it down. Basically, half your plate for lunch and dinner, half your plate should be vegetables, like any type of vegetables, really. You want to focus on your green vegetables and your leafy greens. And then a third of that should be your protein, a good source of protein, and the other third should be a good source of carb. So that's another subject I'd like to touch on is carbs, healthy carbs, especially because there's a big battle and you know, with carbs.
Yeah, you still need them.
Yes,
they're your energy source.
Yeah. So I do like carbs. I do like healthy carbs, and there's plenty out there. Our sweet potatoes, our yuca, our cassava,
Quinoa.
everything that grows from the ground, basically. A lot of those things that are rooted with good roots, like the cassava, the sweet potato. Those are things that they're starches, but they're on the health. They're healthy starches. They're things that don't have as much sugar as, or don't convert into high sugar as other things like rice. You know, and then we have our quinoa as well as a rice substitute. Our quinoa is super high in protein, high in fiber as well. I mean, it takes time to get used to it, and you might have to change it up a little bit, but yeah.
I think for me, and probably maybe a lot of our listeners, I have stomach issues. I have celiac disease and I have diverticulosis. So I've had to change my lifestyle completely and adapt to the things that I can and cannot eat.
Yeah.
Because with the celiac disease, it's an autoimmune condition. So it damages the lining of my stomach.
Right.
So that is going to not allow me to digest nutrients.
Right.
Not even if I can be having the perfect diet, I still have to supplement with something extra.
Yeah.
And I can tell because I'm fatigued all the time.
Yeah.
It's just my body doesn't react the same. So I would always recommend for any of the listeners that have any digestive condition to consult with a nutritionist and learn from your body and what you can and cannot do and the diets that you need to take, because it affects everything in your body. So hearing from this, my celiac disease had me to develop into not be able to break down lactose.
Right.
So because of the celiac, I'm also lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
But we do have that little bit, the lactate that we can take with milk or yogurt.
Yeah.
But if not, I wouldn't be able to break it down either.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, but
It is, and it's not easy to live with. It's not easy to live with. You have to learn to listen to your body, listen to what's agreeing with you, what foods agree with you, what don't agree with you, and you have to be very disciplined.
Yes.
Especially with, for example, coffee intake, the amount of coffee that you're drinking, or the amount of alcohol that you're drinking.
Yes.
All those things affect your lining and your intestinal health. Very much so.
So going to that, caffeine and alcohol, how the same that sugar, what things to avoid, and what would you recommend the listeners for caffeine and alcohol?
So caffeine, I'm not against caffeine. I think coffee and green tea and black tea, yerba mate. I think these are good source of antioxidants. There's actually a lot of health benefits in all those. What you want to watch out for is quantity. You know, limit quantity and the time that you're drinking your caffeine. Nobody should be drinking caffeine past 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's, you know, in the Latin community, it's very common, you know, it's common to drink coffee an hour before bed.
Cuban coffee, first thing at work, that's what we do before we go to our meeting. Cuban coffee, which is, you know,
highly concentrated coffee, and sugar, right.
And then after lunch, the same thing. At 3 o'clock, we get more.
Right, exactly. So it's like you're basically fueling your sympathetic nervous system. You're fueling your nervous system, and you don't want that. You don't want to have your nervous system on edge. You don't. You want the complete opposite.
That and the stress.
I love that you just said that. You don't want to have your nervous system on edge, and these things are fueling.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of good information on there. There's a lot of good facts about different caffeine sources. What I like to tell my clients and stuff like that is hey, look, you know, limit the amount of caffeine you're drinking. Make sure that it's it's not bothering or it's not aggravating any digestive issues.
Right.
Things like green tea have L-theanine. So L-theanine is kind of helps counter that effect of the jitters and that effect of like, oh my God, I need to get everything done. It's a calming transmitter. So it's, you know, it's a good source of caffeine, the green tea. Coffee, you know, before 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you shouldn't be having more after that. And also, what are you sweetening with? What are you mixing your coffee with? What are you mixing your tea with? Sugar or milk. You know, you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that. You want to have things in their natural source. You don't want to be mixing things up so much, and you want to watch out for obviously what you're using to sweeten it with, or the type of milk that you're mixing it with. All those things. A lot of people say, "Oh, coffee sends me to the bathroom." It might be because of the milk that you're mixing it with, or it might be the coffee itself.
It's going to
and I want to just touch on something because so we are coffee drinkers, and personally, I struggle with sleep, and I know that that's something that you have struggled with.
Yes.
But you briefly mentioned about magnesium.
Yes.
How has that helped with, or does it help?
So magnesium is something that our bodies produce. The reality is that most of us are magnesium deficient. We're low in magnesium levels. And there's about 8 different types of magnesiums. I'm not going to name them all, but there's about 8 different types of magnesiums. And every magnesium does something different for you. If we want to talk about sleep and or relaxation or sleep quality, we're going to speak about two magnesiums. There's magnesium glycinate, which is used for sleep. It helps improve sleep. That's what I take personally. That's what I recommend people sometimes who are having sleep issues. And then there's magnesium threonate. Magnesium threonate, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it's able to basically enhances cognitive health overall. Like, it helps you think more clearly. It helps you remember things. So
I need that one.
That's like a cognitive booster. Is the magnesium threonate. Magnesium threonate.
Okay.
And then the magnesium glycinate is what we use for sleep. Okay.
Yeah. So the magnesium threonate is more for clarity,
more for
and
mental
cognitive
clarity,
function.
focus. Yeah. Helps you focus, mental clarity, memory.
Yeah, I struggle. I don't know if because of the celiac disease, if because of the stress or whatever it is, but my retention span has diminished so tremendously.
Yeah, and it's really the world we live in. We all are getting microdosed dopamine throughout the day.
Yeah.
In social media, on TV, you know, it's microdosing dopamine. What that does is that it does not allow us to focus on things for more than a certain amount of time. And
also, we don't try to remember like phone numbers or something that you forgot. Or you go to Google or you save the information.
Right. I mean, so those are supplements. Those two are you will notice a difference. Everyone that I speak to notices a difference when they start taking those. You sleep better. You dream. You wake up refreshed, and you'll remember things. It's just mental clarity.
I love it. These are really good tips for our listeners. Tell us something that you cannot go without, whether it's a supplement, what is it? What is like your go-to, like it's improved your mental health drastically?
Or a routine that you have.
And it maybe 1 or 2 things.
So there's actually a few. I'm glad you asked that, because I'm big on that. I'm a big believer on sticking to your routine, sticking to your protocol. Everyone should have what we call a protocol, or things that definitely they notice a difference when they do those things. For me, is number 1 on that list is meditation. Awesome. Number 2 on that list is working out, getting my body moving and sweating.
Releasing those toxins, right?
Right, releasing those toxins. And I can do that either through workouts, I can do that through yoga, or I can do that through the sauna. Either one of those. All those things are very beneficial for me. And sleep, a good night's sleep. Those are number 3 on my list. Okay. Those are number 3 on my list.
Your 3 tips. So meditation, exercise, and sleep.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I would actually put sleep number 1 as number 1. Sleep would be number 1. Number 2 would be meditation for me. And number 3 would be moving my body, some type of workout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about hydration with water? Because I don't know if anybody experiences this, but me personally, no matter how much water I drink, I do not feel hydrated.
Yeah.
I feel bloated.
Yeah. So what's going on is a few things. For us who live in Florida, we're living in very warm temperatures. As soon as we walk outside, our bodies are going through a drastic change of temperatures between when we're inside and when we go outside. Right. That's number 1. Number 2, when we're sleeping, we lose a lot of fluid. We haven't drank any type of liquid for 6, 7, 8 hours while we're sleeping. And number 3 is caffeine, coffee. It's caffeine depletes and absorbs a lot of our liquids. Yeah,
caffeine is a diuretic too.
Yeah.
Makes
so
sense.
very, very important. And this is thing that any biohacker, any nutritionist, or anyone in the nutrition field will tell you is the first thing you want to focus on or you want to do in the morning is hydrate. Hydrate. Okay. A lot of water in the morning. Our bodies accept and are able to intake high amounts of water in the morning. And if you want to take it a step further, and you should be, is adding electrolytes to your water. You want to make sure that you add electrolytes to your water in the morning and throughout the day, even at night. Electrolytes come in a powder form. Sometimes they'll come in a liquid form, but this is a must supplement. It's for everyone to be adding electrolytes to their water. You also want to make sure that you're filtering your water, that you're getting good quality water, and you're limiting the amount of water that you're drinking from a plastic bottle.
I'm
terrible with that.
When I was doing some research, I found that the best water is spring water.
Yes.
Or the ones that come from a glacier.
Yeah, so you want water in its natural form. You want water in its natural form. You want to get it from the source, as they call it. Right. You don't want to get water that's been triple purified and triple, quadrupled cleaned out. You want things that are natural. So go with spring water. Always go with spring water. If you can get some reverse osmosis water, that's also very high quality water. That's reverse osmosis water. And now we even have hydrogenated water. So water that adds hydrogen particles to it. It provides more hydration. So for less amount of water, you're getting more hydration. You don't need as much water to get hydrated, and the benefits are showing that are very good. It's a newer thing, but hydrogen water. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, definitely make sure you hydrate. A lot of people go straight for the coffee in the morning. Go straight for the water instead. Before the coffee, make sure you're hydrating, because all you're doing is dehydrating your body more with the coffee.
Danny, you have provided so much incredible information. My head is spinning right now, but I think it's so good for our listeners, and I just want to circle back and make sure that we put emphasis on this. As for your tips, you said try and get a full night's rest. So sleep being very important, meditation, exercise. Those 3 are really game changers for you. You talked about hydration, adding some electrolytes to your water. Yeah. Water in its most natural form. You talked about that as well.
The fiber, probiotics, protein, how to separate the plates, half veggies, and then 1/3 protein, 1/3 carbs.
Yeah. I want to add one more thing to that also, is to be aware of the quantity of food that you're having. Some of us think that we're having too much food. We might not even be getting enough calories that our body needs. Whether it's we're working out or whether we're working in our job and it's burning a lot of calories, we want to make sure that we're intaking enough food to feel well.
So mindful eating.
Yeah, right. Mindful eating. So you want to make sure that you're getting the right portions, and the right quantities throughout the day. Ideally, the human wants or should be eating multiple times a day, and then fasting for a certain amount of hours. You want to give your body a rest from eating as well. Right. And then you want to be eating in smaller quantities, more times throughout the day.
I know someone that gets hangry when she hasn't eaten in a while. So in your experience, how have you seen food or the lack of food impacting emotions and mental health overall?
Well, it's very correlated. There's a big correlation there. There's a big correlation. and we also, when we talk about that, we want to talk about our blood sugar levels, you know, our glucose levels. Some people are more glucose sensitive than others. So we want to make sure that our glucose is kind of staying in balance throughout the day, not that we're going through spikes.
Right.
So that's where our fibrous food comes into play. When we have fibrous food, we kind of regulate that glucose. We don't want any spikes throughout the day, and that's important.
It's
as
like
well.
sneakers, the ad when someone is
That would be
not
me.
themselves. Like here, you're just hungry.
Right.
Yeah, but I've been known to get a little aggressive when I have a
and that's when we want to have snacks around. You know, we always want to pack some snacks and carry them everywhere.
And then you see her doing the little dance when she's eating. Like,
It's like a
it's a switch.
Yep.
It's a switch.
Immediate. Yep. Danny, I do want to say one more thing about the mindful eating. I've noticed that myself personally, I've learned to eat until satisfied and not until I'm full. Which I think that's been a big game changer for me. I used to, you know, because we're always on the go and we're eating fast and but I think mindful eating, right? If you sit down and you're really, you know, chewing your food properly.
Oh yeah.
And just you're present, you're chewing your food properly and eating until you're satisfied. At least for me, that has been a big game changer.
I overeat. I liked it. I'm gonna have seconds. I need to stop. Then I feel bad.
I do that a lot of times as well.
We all do it.
I do that a lot of times as well. I keep telling people it's because I work out a lot.
I wish I could give that excuse.
I need more food. So I do that a lot. Lately, I've been more mindful when I eat. So there's three major factors when you're eating, three big things that you want to be aware of. Number one, you want to make sure that you're eating with someone. You don't want to eat alone. You should be eating with someone.
What do you mean?
Psychologically, it's so beneficial to be with someone and to have company with you, especially when you're eating. We should be eating with others and sharing, food with other people. Number two is, like you said, chewing your food very well, making sure that you're chewing as much as possible. That way your digestive system doesn't have to do as much work. And once it gets to your digestive system, it's already so broken down that you can just absorb things much better. And number three, you want to be in a calm state of mind. You don't want to be stressed out. You don't want to be thinking of what's happening in half an hour. So you want to be mindful. You want to be in a relaxed state of mind so that you're actually enjoying that. And that has a lot to do with overeating. A lot of times we overeat because we're thinking of stressful events or we're thinking of stressful things. And that's kind of like our way to cure our anxiety is it's overeating. So you want to make sure that you're in a calm state of mind. That will also help your satiety. It will help you communicate, hey, I'm full. This is time to stop.
Danny, you have given us so much incredible information, so many tips, practical tips that our listeners can really apply in their lives right now. And I want to thank you. I'm so grateful that you came here and you did such a lot. He drove from so far to be here with us. So we're grateful.
Of course. This is my passion. So I don't have any issues talking about this with you.
Good, because we're going to have you back.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. And as for listeners, we hope that you were able to get some practical tips that you can start applying now. I know that I have some homework to do on my own. And share with your friends, your family, like, subscribe in social media. We have the podcast available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram at Breaking Barriers, the podcast. And for Danny, you can follow him at dmartinez0011. We're going to leave all this information in the description box, and we hope to see you again at another episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.